I said I wasn't going to do it. I swore I wasn't going to talk about this. I made a solemn vow on stream that not even Batman could beat this conversation out of me, but it's going to leave my lips because I can't take it anymore. This is worse than the torture Jack Bauer put his terrorists through. People keep emailing me and asking me, what did I think about the Jake Paul versus Mike Tyson fight? The reason I didn't want to talk about the fight and the reason I was so adamant that I wouldn't be talking about the fight while it was going on during stream is because it's just boring. It was extremely lackluster, and that was an extremely predictable thing to see from a mile away. Now, apparently the undercard fights that preceded the main event were extremely good, so hats off to all the fighters that really put their best foot forward and delivered an incredible performance in the middle of this fucking circus. I have said, since the very day this was announced, that it was a pathetic endeavor. I thought that this would only end in underwhelming, disappointing disaster. And it only got worse when Mike Tyson suffered a medical emergency and nearly died like 4 months before this fight even happened, which caused it to be pushed back in the first place. It is stupid. I thought it was a horrible concept for a fight. I didn't even watch it. I was streaming Dark Souls 3 through the whole thing and getting updates from chat about how horrible it was to watch, what a giant waste of time and scam it was, and I still was provided with a real-time analysis round by round, and my god, even just reading the cliff notes was sad and lame. Like, it would have been more thrilling to be getting updates at bingo night, hearing about the senior citizens bingo cards. It was just sad. Like, it would have been a more thrilling fight to watch me put my head up someone's butt to fight for air. It's just, from the very beginning, I said there would be no knockouts in this fight. I was very, very firm in that prediction. And there was no knockouts in this fight. Not only was there no knockouts, there was no anything worthwhile. As I said from the beginning, this is just a cash grab. It is two athletes getting a payday and nothing else. And from the highlights, using that word real loosey-goosey, that I watched of it, there wasn't even really much of a fight there. Mike Tyson is nearly 60 years old. He is a legend, but he's also a man. And there is no man that can beat Father Time. Time is undefeated and it always will be. And there are certain things that as you age, you just can't overcome in a physical sense like this. Honestly, I'm very impressed that Mike Tyson was able to even go the distance in this fight to actually finish it, because he was gassed really early from what I can tell. He ran out of steam by like the second round almost entirely, at least from what I've picked up on. Again, I didn't watch it live, but from everything I'm seeing, it seemed like he was completely out of energy, needed to construct additional pylons, like there were no resources left, yet he hung on and still absorbed like 200 punches from Jake Paul. So really, hats off to Mike Tyson for that, and overcoming all of the obstacles that he did to even fight in this event. It really is extraordinary, to be honest. It was never realistic to expect him to come out there and be the Mike Tyson that everyone remembers from the glory days. It was always going to be an incredibly difficult challenge to fight someone as young as Jake Paul. I am not surprised that Jake won this fight, and people are already clowning on him for it, saying that he's already booked his next fight against Joe Biden and then his following fight against Jimmy Carter. Jake Paul hurts more elderly people than a staircase. He's built a reputation of just challenging out of their prime fighters, retired fighters, sometimes not even fighters. I wouldn't be shocked if Jake Paul called out my father, saying that he's bad at iRacing and he wants to prove it by getting in the boxing ring with my dad. I know everyone, including myself, was saying this is a lose-lose for Jake because even if he won, he would still get laughed at for it, which he is, rightfully so. But if he lost, he would get laughed at for that too, for losing to a nearly 60-year-old man. But now, it's pretty clear it wasn't a lose-lose. It was a win-win. Two winners, Jake Paul and Mike Tyson. They both got like $20 million each for this. And you know who ultimately got put in a losing position, a little checkmate? Everyone who watched it. Everyone who spent their night waiting for something extraordinary to happen with Jake Paul versus Mike Tyson. I am surprised at how popular this was. I am shocked that people bought into the hype again. This is a classic how many times do I have to teach you this lesson moment. Logan Paul versus Floyd Mayweather. Like all of these fights like this, where it's YouTuber versus legend, are always underwhelming. I also speculated that this fight Jake Paul versus Mike Tyson had a no knockout clause, I still think I'm probably right on the money with that. This truly was just about getting a bag. I don't think there was ever the desire for Jake or Mike to knock the other out, so I think it was probably even written into the contract to maybe not go hog wild in the fight or anything. But of course, that's just a conspiracy theory. That's fucking tinfoil condom shit from me there. Not that it really matters. At the end of the day, this was never about a fight. It was always about a payday for both of them. So, I mean, congratulations to them. They definitely made a pretty penny off of this. Maybe next time when Jake Paul announces his next opponent, when he digs up the corpse of Muhammad Ali and challenges it to a fight, maybe then people will be like, maybe I'll sit this one out. I've been disappointed plenty of times now with these big YouTuber fights. Maybe this is the one that I'll finally skip on. Because right now, this is just an infinite money glitch right here. Jake Paul has made so much doing this same thing. And you think he gives a shit that people make fun of him for challenging retired fighters? Absolutely not. He doesn't care at all because it draws a crowd every time. And even if you hate him for it, you're still watching. And that's putting tons of doubloons in his pockets. And he knows that playing the villain is extremely lucrative because it gets people invested. They want to see him get knocked out, and he plays with that, and he makes a lot of money off that. So people will be cheering for whoever he goes up against. When Jake Paul announces that he's fighting the ghost of Christmas past next week, people will tune in hoping that this will be the time that, the dildo of justice rarely comes lubed, and it's coming at Jake raw. It's going to be the time he gets knocked out, and I can't wait to see it. And it probably won't, because Jake is a good fighter, and he is fighting people that don't actively fight anymore. When he did fight someone that does still actively fight, he lost. And I'm going to make another prediction here. I don't think he's going to make that mistake again. I don't think he's going to challenge any more active fighters. That's a bold prediction because he's going to be farming this for quite some time. I think he will continue to choose huge names and nothing else. Huge names that people will recognize to draw a crowd to tune in to the latest fucking wet fart of a fight that he puts on. So there you go. There's the whole enchilada on my thoughts of Jake Paul versus Mike Tyson. I'm very happy I didn't watch it live. That would have made me actually mad, especially considering how bad the broadcast apparently was. That's a totally separate subject. So I was reading some of the complaints from people. Like after I watched the highlights, I was reading from like some articles that were posted about like the Netflix issues that they were experiencing. How do you fuck that up so bad? This was a massive event for Netflix, and they definitely fumbled it in a big way. But maybe that could be spun as a blessing in disguise, because maybe there's people that were watching it, but the broadcast was so bad they turned it off. You saved yourself a headache. You saved yourself some time, because you didn't miss anything by turning the fight off. Maybe you went to bed a little early because of that. You got some extra slumber and you're feeling a lot more recharged today. So Netflix's blunder may have been to your benefit, at least some viewers out there. Though I do think Netflix should probably get that shit together for the next time they try and do a massive streamed broadcast. Because hooey, from what I've read, that was not smooth at all, huh? Anyway, though, that's really about it. So, yeah. As you can no doubt tell, I've left my normal setup, ventured out into the great outdoors, God's country. I've left my domain expansion, I've been kidnapped by Austin Powers here. But my little adventure has the added benefit of serving a second purpose, which is being witness protection, so Mike Tyson doesn't track me down and, wiggle his way down my chimney and beat my ass in the middle of the night, because I'm about to sling a few insults here at this absolutely awful event that he's agreed to. I've said since day one, the genesis, that the Jake Paul vs. Mike Tyson fight is a pathetic embarrassment of an event. Just from a conceptual standpoint, it is so dog shit. And somehow it just keeps finding a way to get even worse. It's an absolute circus show. So Mike Tyson recently just had a medical emergency on a flight. He had an ulcer flare-up, and it's postponed the event even further. I'll dive into that a bit more, but I just want to start, it's not even just the more recent stuff that's happening with the embarrassing press conference where Mike Tyson made the baffling statement about how when Jake Paul was 16 and dancing, it gave him a boner. That's a level of trash talk I've never seen before right there. I don't know what the plan was, but it fell flat on its face. Like, I tried to figure out what the play might have been there, the strategy on stream. The only thing I could come up with was that he was trying to, like, belittle him as a fighter. It's like, oh, this guy, he's not a fighter. No, I don't even want to fight this guy. I just want to fuck him. Yeah, like he like dances around and stuff, and like I just want to get over there and fucking squeeze on his little cheeks and twist on his nipples. Like maybe make him uncomfortable with statements like that. I don't know, but it was a shocking display at the press conference. Like everything about that was awful. Like they weren't taking it seriously. How could anyone take the fight seriously? I speculated from the beginning that there's probably a no knockout clause. On paper, Jake Paul should have no chance against Mike Tyson, but he's 60 years old and he is turning to dust, as every human being will as they get later on in life. Like it's the way of the world. Mike Tyson is one of the best to ever fight. By all definitions, he is a certified legend at the top of the food chain. But he's pushing 60 years old. He's not in his prime anymore. And real life isn't like anime. Very rarely will you have like the ancient geriatric master with like a graying beard be able to stand toe to toe with the youth. He's not Master Roshi, right? It's not how that works. Seems like a mod from GTA or something where you just spawn in two characters and have them fight because it's silly. But to have it happen in real life is just kind of sad. This is a lose-lose situation for Jake Paul, by the way. Jake Paul has a reputation for only fighting retired ex-fighters, not even boxers most of the time. He's fought one boxer and lost, and now he's once again just going back to just fighting an old guy who has retired. So if he wins this fight, no one's going to give him respect because he beat a nearly 60-year-old Mike Tyson, once again continuing Jake Paul's reign as like the fucking tyrannical boogeyman of the retirement homes. And if he loses to Mike Tyson, he's going to get clowned on endlessly for losing to a nearly 60-year-old man. It's fucking stupid. It's just the most blatant cash grab off of two names, because Jake Paul still has somewhat of an audience, and Mike Tyson is still one of the biggest names in sports history, so he's obviously going to bring in a big crowd that just likes to watch him fight or do anything, really. But beyond that, this isn't a you paid for the whole seat but you only need the edge type of situation, You're not going to be biting at your nails, jumping out of the chair at every thrown jab or anything, because it's just kind of like a pathetic little whimper of a cash grab, really. Like, Mike Tyson has fought legends. Jake Paul fights to get out of his brother's shadow. They're not the same. This isn't a real match, no matter how hard they try and market it as such. Like, the press conference really set the tone of the whole thing where they're both laughing back and forth. This isn't a real thing. They're just both getting paid a bag to do it. And that's it. Anyway, I'll talk about the most recent blemish on this event. Mike Tyson had a medical emergency while on a flight. It was identified as an ulcer flare-up, and he's been advised to avoid heavy training for a few weeks. So, in response to this, the event has been postponed to later on in the year. People who had previously purchased tickets are still going to be able to have those tickets honored for the new date and all of that. Or if you can't make it, you get a refund. I don't even know why I'm bothering to cover that component of it. I don't fucking work for SeatGeek, but I figured I'll just give you the entire kit and caboodle here of the situation. So it's been postponed because of Mike Tyson's ulcer flare-up. And if Jake Paul had any level of shame, he would just call off the fight in response to that. Just be like, hey, Mike Tyson, you got nothing to prove. But unfortunately, he's a pathetic little worm who would never do that, because to him, he does have something to prove, that he's a real fighter. And to prove that, he fights retired boxers and sometimes not even boxers. If your grandfather's in a nursing home, you might want to give him a wellness check, because Jake Paul might have come into the middle of the night and given him a contract to take Mike Tyson's place in the fight. Doesn't matter if your grandfather's a retired plumber. That man's going to get his shit pushed in by Jake Paul, and he's going to be talking about it for months, about how he's like the ultimate fighter. But he refuses to fight actual people his own age or in the actual sports that he is competing in. And the one time he did, he lost. So he's gone right back to just attacking the elderly. It doesn't matter what happens in this fight. There's not a single soul on this planet that's going to look at Mike Tyson differently. If he loses the fight, no one's going to think that it ruins his legacy or anything. He's almost 60 fucking years old. Like, most people are kind of expecting that, but praying that he just, goes in there, goes ballistic, and just beats Jake Paul to a pulp. Like, obliterates him into, like, an unrecognizable fucking mess of flesh. That's most people's hopes, but if it doesn't happen, it's not going to affect Mike Tyson's legacy. For Jake Paul, though, everyone is going to look at him differently, no matter what happens with the fight. If the fight happens, which it seems like it will under no circumstances does it seem to be getting canceled, when this fight happens, everyone's going to look at Jake Paul even more pathetically. People will feel more disgust towards him than a urine stain in a gas station toilet. Because if he wins, he beat up an old Mike Tyson. If he loses, he lost to an old Mike Tyson. There is no winning in this scenario. The only winning move was not to play. But he can't fucking help himself. So anyway, Mike Tyson and Jake Paul both did issue statements in response to the ulcer flare-up, which I'll go ahead and go over here. Mike Tyson said, "I want to thank my fans around the world for their support and understanding during this time. Unfortunately, due to my ulcer flare-up, I have been advised by my doctor to lighten my training for a few weeks to rest and recover. My body is in better overall shape than it has been since the 1990s, and I will be back to my full training schedule soon." Now, Mike Tyson is in phenomenal shape, for sure. But there's a lot more that goes into fighting than just the shape that you're in the physique. And that's where old age really starts to take a huge toll. Jake Paul, this may have bought you some time, but in the end, you will still be knocked out and out of boxing for good. I appreciate everyone's patience and can't wait to deliver an unforgettable performance later this year. We can only pray that that's how this all unfolds. Everyone's got their fingers crossed that that's exactly what happens. Jake Paul also issued a statement. "I fully support postponing the event so Mike Tyson has no excuses come fight night. My fans know I don't want to face Iron Mike at anything but his best, which is why I'm fighting him at almost 60 years old when males really peak. 60 years old is when a man hits his power spike. That's when he's at his best." Yeah, absolutely. Yep, that's how that goes. But let there be no mistake. When he steps into the ring with me, I will be ready to claim my W with a sensational finish. Paul vs. Tyson will be one for the ages, and I promise to bring my best for this once-in-a-lifetime matchup. Jake Paul is correct about one thing in his statement, that Paul vs. Tyson will be one for the ages. It'll be looked upon for years to come as one of the worst examples of boxing ever displayed, a grim reminder of just how bad and corrupt it can get and how greedy it can become. This shit is embarrassing, and I think it will always be looked upon as a spittoon for people to spit in to remind us that, yikes, that was a shameful period in boxing history. It's really just awful. And I just wanted to talk about it a little bit in a video because of the most recent medical emergency for Mike Tyson. So anyway, that's really about it. I don't think I'll be watching it. I never really do. I just catch the Twitter clip highlights to figure out who won because it's a waste of time watching a Jake Paul fight. I'd honestly rather be listening to like a fucking 5-hour lecture on the Krebs cycle from my old university professor. That shit is just boring from him. So that's really it. So yep. I'm going to play the Resident Evil 4 demo. Oh, I forgot there was a demo. Totally forgot. Probably not. Game comes out in like a week, 2 weeks or whatever, so I'll just wait. I usually don't bother fucking with demos. Unless it's like way in advance. You want world first, you gotta play, brother. Brother, I played all last night. I am prepped for world first. The only thing I need to finish doing is leveling up the osteo, which I'm probably just going to do later tonight. But after the osteo, I'm all set. And 1780 and everything I need. With infusion fodder in case there's anything that needs to be upped. You see now everyone is criticizing Jake for running away when there were like 30 people. Yeah, I haven't seen the criticism, but I saw the clip of him running away from like the Floyd Mayweather team or whatever, but they were like actually 30 heads deep, so I don't blame him. Like, what's he supposed to do? Sit there and let 30 dudes run up on him? When he brags as much as he does, yeah. It's different to talk shit about an individual. Like, he's not out there saying he could beat up an entire fucking army. The man got jumped by an actual small team of people. He got jumped by the first and second string of a football squad, basically. It was like 30 dudes. Jumped is an exaggeration. 30 dudes rolled up on him. Like, of course he's not going to challenge each and every single one of them to fisticuffs. He's not going to be like, throw him up. It's 30 people. Oh, God, Jesus Christ, Rod. Thank you, Rod. Good to see you tonight. Hope you had a good day. Thanks for resub Mikey, Qual, and the Prime lifted. And the resub Mamba. And no, I haven't seen that big. Thank you for that, Rod. Thanks for the big drop. Yeah, I've got it pulled up right here. I saw the Suicide Squad game announcement. I'm actually shocked. I don't know how much they're going to be able to improve here, considering the actual core problem with the game is the game itself. It did away with all of the great DNA and all of the great groundwork from the Arkham series in order to just be a fucking shooter. A live service shooter. I don't know how much they can really change. These are 2 gift subs, Snow, and resub Nathaniel and Isaac. And yeah, of course I know combat juggling. Gamers love to bitch. I mean, I was excited for the game till I saw the gameplay, and then I was disappointed. Like, rightfully so. What do you mean gamers love the bitch? It looked bad. Like, it didn't look good. There's nothing wrong with saying it didn't look good. It didn't. Especially from a studio as beloved as fucking Rocksteady. Huge fumble. You don't like battle passes? Well, let's not get carried away. You know I love me a good battle pass, especially in a fucking game like Suicide Squad. It looks bad, so move on like an adult. You mean what everyone did? They talk some shit and that's it. What, just be like, it's bad. And that's it. Like, what do you mean? I don't think there's people out there in the streets protesting that the game looked shitty. What are you talking about? No one forced them to delay the game. It was just people saying, yeah, this is disappointing. Which it is. And then they made the decision to delay it to, I guess, add more polish. Not that that's going to change anything unless they completely redo the game. There's a lot of battle pass removal changes that can be made easily. Yeah, but the battle pass is one of the least offensively bad things about it. The actual game itself looks not fun. Every character just shoots. The movement looks cool. I think the movement looks great. But the game itself is just, hey, here's our 4 heroes that just shoot. Yeehaw. That's what I like from Rocksteady. A studio that made an absolutely beautiful series of games right before this. Only to, I guess, I don't know, devolve into just, hey, here's some guns to shoot. With like really old school gunplay. The finals does have a lot of potential. They just need to fix the input delay. Once that input delay is fixed, that game's going to feel pretty good. Thanks for another gift sub, Rod, and the tier 1 Sarah, and the resub Rin, Icy, LD, and the Prime Liam. And thanks to the resub Pricky. Didn't they make another shitty game recently? No, you're thinking of Gotham Knights, and that was not Rocksteady. This game does look better than Gotham Knights. Absolutely, I'll give it that. But it's a huge step down from the Arkham series. I'm still 1 episode behind on Last of Us. Thanks to resub Jeef and Peepo. This game gonna shut down Rocksteady if it misses? No, I don't think so. I don't think this game's going to do very well. Just a hunch, maybe it does pop off somehow. But I also don't think it's gonna shut down Rocksteady if it does poorly. Rocksteady is a developer with quite a big list of hits. Like, they're pretty prestigious. I don't think they'd shut down from one stinker. Granted, this has taken like 8 years worth of development, so that would be a big deal if it fucking flopped. Grinded to 1821 on Destiny, but told contest mode is 1790 capped. Someone lied to you. It's 1780 capped. But there's no harm in grinding to 1821 either. Things are resub crazy. Do I think the overall quality of movies nowadays has just gotten much worse? No. I actually saw Scream 6 tonight. I won't spoil anything, but this movie was surprisingly good. Like, actually just pretty good. I think a lot of movies are just safe IPs that they use and abuse. And this is really no different. It is just kind of a safe IP. But at least it was good. They did a pretty good job with it. I liked it. There's the resub soy. And the bits. Choom. Yeah, I haven't seen that one yet. Movie was ass. I disagree. I guess it depends on what you want out of it. I thought it did a very decent job. Like, the kills were fun, brutal. It actually built tension a couple times, like, not shittily. I don't have any real main complaints, except for, like, some big plot holes and some shitty dialogue and some real plot convenience moments, but nothing huge that made me hate it. Jake Paul signed a contract for the PFL MMA company. I saw. Apparently those matches are going to have $1 million to win, so I guess that's actually pretty cool. Like, I don't think, I think that's a good thing. Jake Paul's actually doing something to help the fighters. Ooh, Jesus Christ. These are sub Rack, gift sub Carcass, and the 10 gift subs J. Oh, the 20 gift subs J Rich. God damn, man. Thanks for the fat drop, and I hope you had a good day. And the resub Nick. God damn, man. No, Jake Paul's thing is bad. Can you tell me why? Because from what I saw, it just seemed good for fighters that are in his league. Let me see. It's the PFL, right? And he's fighting Nate Diaz. Thanks for the 5 gift subs, Dry Cakes. Eventually, probably deep once you figure out what to do with it. Hey Nesh, thanks for the resub. Probably a scam somehow. I mean, he is a Paul, which is synonymous with scam, but I don't really see how it would be. It from what I saw, and it's very surface level, he's just now like the front man of the PFL, which is an MMA org. And then he talked about like $1 million prize purse, which is like, I mean, that's just like a good thing for the fighters. Regardless of how I feel about Jake Paul, whom I really don't like, I think this is a good thing for the fighters. These are 5 gift subs Arthur and the resub Farah. That was already there before he came, was it? Because the way I understood it is after he's hopped on board, it's really blown it up. Like, he's blowing it up. Did PFL always have $1 million on the line for their big matches? Because that sounds like more of a Jake Paul kind of influx. It's been like that? Then why the fuck doesn't the PFL have more fighters? UFC pays them like schmeckles. They don't get anything. Why wouldn't they all just go to the PFL? Thanks for the Prime ADM in the bits box. Because of contracts? I guess it's possible. Thanks to the resub, Squeaker, Kareem, and Carter. I'm glad you like it, Bob. It's a way bigger platform to promote stuff. Yeah, but who gives a fuck at that point? As a fighter, if you're getting paid, what was it, like 50K a fight or something? Shit, I don't remember. I'm pulling that out of my ass. But it was a lot lower than you would expect for like the highest caliber UFC fighters. Why would you care about the platform to promote on if you can compete for $1 million at the PFL? Thank you for the 10 gift subs, Smokey. And the Prime Ryuzu. Thank you for that, Smokey. Jake said the new PFL pay-per-view will be a 50-50 split between company and fighters, except nobody will buy their pay-per-view. That's fucked up. I don't know enough about the PFL. I don't like Jake Paul. But I mean, why wouldn't you? Everyone has so many complaints about the UFC. Why wouldn't you support something like the PFL that's just giving a much better split to the fighters? Why would anyone be against that? The fuck is the point of that? Because the fighters aren't good? Huh. Because of brand name. Who the fuck cares about brand name? Don't you watch the UFC to watch good fights? Thanks for the resub. Yido, Matt, Halacia, Chef, Wave, Taz, Phil, Double A, and the Prime Snow, and Facetious. Resub Slum. Yeah, that's great news about Damar Hamlin. No one will spend the money on pay-per-view for fighters they've never heard of. I mean, I guess that's a fair critique, yeah. Jake Paul doing this is a spit in the face and curb stomp to people who train their whole lives to get to that level. Nepotism at its finest. Again, I don't like Jake Paul, but what is so bad about what he's doing here? $1 million on the line for the big fights and a 50-50 split between pay-per-view sales and the fighters. That's something the UFC would never even toy with in even the wildest pipe dream. Fighters get fucked financially by the UFC. I just don't see why this is like a bad thing he's doing with the PFL. Dana White too busy slapping his wife. Well. Alright, fair warning, things are going to get a little bit heated here, so I apologize in advance for maybe getting a little red in the face. Excuse my potty mouth and pardon my French, but Netflix is a bunch of dummies. Netflix, for some reason, greenlights every single project that accidentally floats across their desk, assuming it came from someone with a pulse. I hate to be so crude and crass with my language here, but Netflix is a bunch of goofball, stupid idiots. It blows my mind that they have so many Netflix originals and so few of them are even decent. I want to be clear, I'm only focusing on Netflix originals and not its overall catalog, even though I do think the strength of Netflix's overall catalog has been diminishing in a big way over the last few years. It's becoming pretty weak in comparison to the competitors. I'm only talking about Netflix originals for this video. They release so many, and I guarantee you haven't heard of even 2% of them. According to this data, they released nearly 900 originals in 2022. Where did they go? They certainly weren't marketed or advertised efficiently. They just fucking flush them down the Netflix shitter or something. Where are they? I can probably count on one hand how many Netflix originals of 2022 I actually watched and liked, or even really heard of in a big way. The others are just left to fester and die, just a rotted, bloating corpse on the Netflix catalog that nobody will ever click on because they are not interesting. I just don't understand why they greenlight so many productions and why they take so many series and put them on here as a Netflix original when most of them are just actually horrible. It's movies and shows that nobody will ever click on. Netflix Original presents The Poop That Took a Pee. Netflix Summer Blockbuster #1 trending. Taking My Dog Bill to Get Neutered. A 3-part docuseries. Netflix Original. Huge, yeah. Like, no one wants any of these things. I just don't get it. And I guess the reason I'm a little heated is because Netflix is an expensive fucking subscription. Like, Netflix costs a lot, and there's, like, nothing on there that I really watch actively. I really just kind of watch the big Netflix originals, like the good ones, the rare time that they have a hit. But for every one hit, they have 1,000 shit. It's just so weird how they, with a smile on their face, will throw so many things at the wall and just hope maybe 1 or 2 of them stick. I just can't imagine that's a super effective business strategy, but then again, what do I know? I thought them removing password sharing would pretty much put them in the grave. I couldn't have been more wrong. They now have more Netflix subscribers than ever because people were too gluttonous. They needed their fix of Netflix content, so they all immediately signed up after getting kicked off from password sharing crackdown. So clearly I'm not an expert on what's going to make Netflix a ton of money, but I can tell you what will never make them money. A Jake Paul documentary. I think the Jake Paul documentary they have slated to come out pretty soon is the perfect example of how out of touch Netflix is and how willing they are to just say yes to any project ever. Like, no one wants to watch a fucking Jake Paul documentary. This guy has vlogged every second of his life living in his brother's shadow since the time that he was an actual teenager. There is nothing about his life that people either don't know or care about if they don't know. Like, no one gives a fuck, and yet he's got a Netflix documentary coming out. Why? What is the point? Now, to be clear, I know the documentary isn't just about Jake Paul. He is a component of it. But what a wasted component. This is a waste of a Netflix original. Him just whining about being the villain of boxing, or the bad guy of the internet, or the Disney Channel star turned douchebag. Like, who cares? Who fucking cares? The new Jake Paul documentary on Netflix. Another perfect example of how out of touch Netflix is. Yeah, apparently you're doing a Jake Paul documentary called Untold. Jake Paul, the Problem Child. That's so ridiculously dumb. I cannot imagine even his own fans will watch this. I just can't. I really can't. Because it's fucking boring. Who the fuck is going to turn on Netflix and be like, I want to learn about Jake Paul? The guy who vlogged every single second of his entire goddamn life. I need to know more about Jake Paul. Like, have him do, like, if you're going to make a Jake Paul show, have him do something. Fucking send him to an underground fight club arena. The guy is a psychopath. Like, have him do crazy shit. Instead of just tell his life story that everybody already knows. Then call the fucking wambulance about people not liking him. It's just it's so simple. They don't get it. Netflix is so out of touch, it's crazy. Like, who the fuck cares? Have him do something interesting for the show. So what would you make a show out of? If I was tasked to make a Jake Paul show, I'd have this fucking goofball doing stupid odd jobs. I think that'd be interesting. Have him, like, train for Cirque du Soleil and put him in an actual performance and see if he tanks the entire fucking thing. Like, give him something to do to make actual entertainment, as opposed to just have him sit down in front of a camera, like, half fucking lobotomized to tell a dumb story nobody cares about, everybody already knows, where he orders some goddamn French fries whining about why people don't like him and he's the problem child. That's lame. That's fucking lame. Have him work in a high-pressure place that has to be nice, like a waiter. Okay, a bit of a silly idea, but, like, your heart's in the right place. Just have him do anything. Just give him shit to do to make an entertaining show. Fucking give him his own Eric Andre show and watch it be an absolute disaster. Even that would still be somewhat entertaining to see how bad it could get. Like actually just give him shit to do. It's the exact same thing I said about the quarterback show, where they just sit quarterbacks down to interview them, I guess. That's boring. No one's gonna turn on Netflix to learn about fucking Jake Paul's life that they already know. Dirt cheap to produce. Yeah, but you're gonna get nothing out of it, and it's not gonna be that cheap. You think Jake Paul did this for cheap? One of the greediest men on the planet? You think he did this Netflix deal for cheap? Hell no. Why do people care so much? Nobody cares. This is going to be a massive fucking flop. Nobody cares. That's the point. That's the point I'm making. Netflix is so lost. It just produces trash. And then occasionally gets lucky with, like, one good thing that comes out. Do you think they'll make something with other creators? They already have multiple times, and they all flop. Miranda Sings has a show on here. I don't know when Netflix is going to learn its lesson. I don't know. I don't know what it takes to get the message through. Paying oodles of clams every month for a Netflix subscription, and this is the kind of shit they deliver to the table? This is what they cooked up in the kitchen? Bring the chef out here. I want to have a few words here. Where's the Netflix chef? Because this is revolting. I'm sending it back to the kitchen. Just fucking why? I just don't understand. And Jake Paul is not the only YouTuber they have done this with or done similar things with. I just don't get it. Again, I don't think this is something even his fans care to see. I just don't even know who the audience is even supposed to be for this. Like, what's the target demographic? Brain rot zombies that just doom scroll Netflix forever watching everything that pops up? Because I feel like that's the only people who will actually even bother having this on for a split second. Jake Paul is not an interesting person to make a series out of about his untold story. And his brother became a superstar, and he rode his coattails, and then he himself became a superstar. End of story. Like, sure, there's probably some nuance throughout there, and I'm sure he's gone through some difficult times in his life. Everybody has. But that doesn't mean that it makes for an interesting show that people are going to want to sit down and fucking watch. Like I said, if you wanted to make something with Jake Paul, that's totally fine. But just have him do something that'll make it entertaining other than just telling his story. Have him fucking ramp the Batmobile off of a turbo Omega ramp over 12 flaming school buses, and then when he lands on the other side, have him do a no-holds-barred 2-minute keg stand till he pisses himself. Like, I don't know. Just have him do anything. There's just no reason he should even be a part of, like, the untold story of Jake Paul. Jake Paul, untold. Again, I know it's not all about him, but, like, why even have him in it? It doesn't make any sense. It's just, it really feels like some kind of desperation from either Netflix or whoever was producing the Untold series itself to try and get some kind of cheesy, cheap clicks on the production. Like, Jake Paul's name would be enough of an attention grabber to have people come in. But I just don't think that's the case for this, because no one gives a fuck about the Jake Paul story about, you know, his transition into being a boxer and being labeled a bad boxer and being labeled a villain and all of that. It's just not interesting. So yeah, I just wanted to talk about this because Netflix just has so much garbage on it. And I really think this is a great example for just they greenlight anything, actually anything, which I don't think they should do. I would rather them just not have 891 originals come out in a year and instead maybe have less than half of that, but all of the originals are good. I think that'd be so much better. But anyway, that's about it. So yeah.
You never forget the first time you get scammed. For me, and probably for many others, it was RuneScape, a game that'll teach you to never trust anyone ever again. It'll even have you questioning the real motives behind your parents' decisions. It'll really just change the way you look at the world and make you afraid of betrayal at every turn. But I also think getting scammed on RuneScape prepared me for the reality of shit out there. Since then, I've been very good about avoiding scams. If I get a call that says anything about my vehicle's extended warranty, I hang that shit up right away. If I get a call that even sounds like a telemarketer, I just immediately hang that shit up. They don't even get the fucking breath out of me into the phone. I'm just putting that shit down. But one scam I have fallen victim to, unfortunately, over the last year or so is watching YouTuber boxing fights. It's like this guilty little pleasure, and every time it's over, I just feel like I've been scammed. I feel dirty. I feel like I've sinned. I'm unclean. And I've made a vow, a very holy promise to never watch one of these again, or at least not pay for them or watch them in full. I went to the Logan Paul vs. Floyd Mayweather fight, which was one of the most regretful experiences of my life. An event so bad it changed the way I perceive our universe. It was beyond boring. There's not even a word that exists to describe just how insufferably boring going to that was, and how awful I felt having paid for it too. But just like the free armor trimming scam in RuneScape, it did teach me something. And I will no longer be watching any of these fucking YouTuber fights or paying for them or any of that shit. However, I have still been kept up to date on what's going on. I know Jake Paul is fighting Tyron Woodley today. I think it's today. And I couldn't give a fuck less about it. However, I've seen a few clips floating around on Twitter, and there's one in particular I want to talk about. This is the face-off here. Jake Paul's even got like a fucking Megazord Gundam thing behind him. Then he gets up in Tyron Woodley's face trying to be intimidating. And I just feel like Jake Paul's confused. I feel like he doesn't know how to handle testosterone, so to me it looks like he wants to kiss him on the mouth, and he doesn't know if he should. I think Jake Paul should have kissed him, at least a little peck on the cheek. He's all about having like a big show before the fight, and that would have been pretty hardcore. He's already got like a robot behind him, like this fucking battle bot over there, looking like something out of Real Steel. So why not go the extra mile and really give us all something to talk about? Just start making out with each other before the fight. So why do I want to talk about this? It's because for a long time I thought Jake Paul being stupid was just an act, like a persona he puts on. But I've listened to a couple of the things he's been doing with Tyron Woodley, like their shit talking back and forth, and I'm convinced he's just actually one of the dumbest men on the planet. He has an extremely hard time stringing together even a single sentence without sounding extremely scared. It's like every time Jake Paul opens his mouth, not only do you have to hear like this diarrhea that comes from it, but it just sounds like he's perpetually presenting in front of a class for his class project and he's nervous. I don't know why he has such a hard time presenting himself without sounding absolutely dumb. Like, irredeemably goofy and silly. And Tyron Woodley calls that out every chance he gets. I also just don't think Jake Paul knows how to look tough. Like, he gets all these tattoos and it doesn't make him look cool or scary. It just somehow makes him look more and more like a goofy goober. And him acting tough is him, like, sensually getting into someone's face. Like, him putting his forehead on Tyron Woodley's forehead isn't scary or intimidating. It makes it seem like I just flipped on a porno. Like, my girlfriend puts her head to my forehead sometimes, like, cuddling. You know, maybe I'm picking up the wrong signals. Maybe she's trying to challenge me to a fight, and I'm misconstruing the information here. But to me, it doesn't seem tough. It seems like Jake Paul has all of these hormones going on. He's probably on some gear. His pecs are looking a little more titty-like. So maybe he doesn't know how to handle all of these endorphins going on. So he's in Tyron Woodley's face and he's like, you know, he doesn't know whether or not he wants to like lick him and kiss him or like, you know, put his finger up to him like, you should be scared. You know, I don't know. He just doesn't seem like he understands how to be tough. It's like he's a bad actor trying to play the tough guy and doing it poorly.
Ask Amanda Serrano. Ask Charles Conwell. Ask Tyron Woodley.
Ask these nuts.
This has been the best moment of this whole little fucking thing so far. Tyron Woodley dropping a D's nuts on him. That had to be the most stern D's nuts I've ever seen in my fucking life. He delivered it like he was Arnold as the Terminator hitting him with the D's nuts line. Like, where do you even go from there? The whole fucking thing should have stopped right then and there. When someone gets a D's nuts into something, no matter how intense or serious the talk is, like, you can't help but giggle. Like, that puts the kibosh on the whole thing right away. Like, I remember an older video, too. I'd have to really go out of my way to find it. But there was, like, a mover who was getting yelled at by some angry tenant at an apartment complex. And he says, "What's your name?" And he said, "These nuts." And then even the tenant's, like, laughing. He's like, oh, my God. It just makes you feel silly, right? So Tyron Woodley dropping those D's nuts there, I feel like Jake Paul lost in that moment. Like, the fight's already over. Tyron Woodley wins. I don't know anything about Tyron Woodley, but in my book, he's already beaten Jake Paul. Hopefully Jake Paul loses. Probably won't. I don't know if Tyron Woodley is like a boxer. Probably not, because Jake Paul doesn't challenge boxers. He's the only boxer who refuses to fight a boxer. Next, he might be challenging a professional bowler, so that'll be exciting. But anyway, for now, that's about it. See ya. Last night was the saddest moment in sports history. Jake Paul won his fight against Ben Askren. Ben Askren is no spring chicken. He's 36 years old. He's had like 15 fucking surgeries. He's basically just like Frankenstein's monster held together by little staples and shit. But he's still a 19-2, extremely decorated and talented fighter from the MMA. And Jake Paul is a YouTuber. While Ben Askren was making a living beating ass in the MMA, Jake Paul was making a living kissing ass on the Disney Channel. And somehow, Jake absolutely blasted Ben. It wasn't even close. The entire fucking fight fits into a Twitter gif. It was like a 40-second fight and a TKO to win it in the first round. I just genuinely can't believe it. Until a couple years ago, the only thing Jake Paul ever fought was to get out of his brother's shadow. And now all of a sudden he's beating a professional fighter? Yes, Ben Askren is a bit older and he looks like an alcoholic father who climbed into the ring last night, but that's still a 19-2 professional MMA legend. And he got manhandled by Jake Paul somehow. It wasn't even close. I'm actually pretty sure the only hit that Ben landed was when they hugged each other and gave each other kisses on the cheek, and he gave him like a little love tap on his oblique. I'm pretty sure that is the only shot from Ben that connected and the only punch he threw. I could be misremembering, but I can't show the fight for obvious reasons on YouTube. I can only tell you about it, but if you go on Twitter, the entire fight is there because it's so incredibly short. It was sad to watch, to be honest. It looked like someone's dad went to school to teach a bully a lesson, but then just got their ass beat. It was a very unfortunate thing to witness. There was no grace at all for Ben. When he got knocked out, it was cartoony. He got, like, hit on the temple, and he, like, fucking threw his arms up and fell backwards. It looked like someone trying to sell a move in the WWE, which is why there's some conspiracy theories about it being rigged. I mean, it really did look weird. It looked like in Power Rangers when they get hit and the sparks fly out and they just do, like, one of these and fly backwards doing a backflip. It looked really over the top, trying to, like, sell that this is a huge hit. I'll get into those conspiracy theories in a minute. I personally don't think it was rigged, although it is a little weird how Ben was able to take so much abuse throughout his MMA career and still go on to win most of those matches, but a single fucking connecting blow from Jake Paul kills him. I mean, I watched and everyone's watched now, the Ben Askren vs. Lawler, where he's just getting pounded, absolutely fucking annihilated, his cheeks getting spread, his face getting bukkakied with punches, and he went on to win that fight. But a single punch from Jake Paul is apparently more devastating than, like, that 50 fucking thousand furious punch combination from Lawler. Like, it doesn't make a whole lot of sense. But I just don't really think many sporting events are rigged anymore. I think that's kind of an old-fashioned thing, because it always gets found out, and it always leads to a huge problem. So I would just be surprised if he risked his entire legacy to be this humiliating laughingstock just for, like, a little extra money. I would be very surprised if that was the truth. I'll get into that a little bit deeper in a minute, but I just want to talk a bit more about the fight itself. The fight took like 4 hours to start. You got like an entire circus performance beforehand, except for the slapping, which was great. I love slapping, as you all know, but it was filmed so terribly that most people thought the slapping was fake. They need to fire whatever camera crew was filming that, because that really did a horrible job of showing how fucking cool slapping is. It made it look silly and fake and scripted, which I don't think it was, but they filmed it like shit. It's like every time a slap was thrown, they'd change the camera angle and like shaky cam it a little bit, so it just looks really fake and dumb. The whole 4 hours leading up to the fight, most people started losing interest and just like falling asleep. The fight didn't start till like 12:30, when it was like scheduled for 9, but even with every other fight, it usually takes like 2 hours. This took an extra 2 hours. It was horrible. I didn't pay for it. Luckily, I would have felt like I was scammed if I did. I just got the highlights from chat because I was streaming at the time, so they were keeping me updated, and then I just look on Twitter to see what was going on. And then once the fight happened, I took a piss, and by the time I was done with my piss, the entire fucking fight was over. Victory by TKO in the first round for Jake Paul was probably the last thing I would have expected with this fight. He didn't KO him fully, he knocked him down, he didn't like banish him to the shadow realm with the punch, but he did fuck him up, and the ref called it pretty early. I'm not too familiar with boxing, but it seemed like a really early stoppage in my opinion, because Ben didn't stay down super long. He got back up. He was a little wobbly, but I've seen plenty of boxing matches, some classics that went down in history where the person was wobbly, bloody, and they continued to fight, and that person would win. So I do think like the stoppage was a little early, but maybe I'm just a bit naive and having a little too much confidence in Ben. Maybe his soul really did leave his body on that first punch, and the only thing standing at that point was a corpse, a fucking husk of Ben Askren, who does look quite a bit like Beef Testosterone, my fighter that I made in the UFC games. And just like Beef Testosterone, he got fucking abused. All credit to Jake, because it does look like he knows what he's doing, and it seems he does really care about boxing. So, just wanted to talk about the fight being pretty fucking wild and shocking, but now I want to talk about the conspiracy theories that are developing about it being a fake fight, scripted, rigged, shit like that. And I will say, again, it is odd how easily Ben went down and gave up and didn't fight the stoppage or anything. He seemed just totally content for it to be over, and it didn't seem like his heart was really in it. Watching the fight, he doesn't really make any moves. The only time he even shows any act of aggression towards Jake is he like kind of goofily charges at him one time, and like wiggles his way over there kind of like a penguin going at him, and then doesn't even throw a punch or anything. He just like wiggles at him, and then that's it. And then everything after that was all Jake Paul being the aggressor towards Ben. And then after the knockout, the TKO, after it's all over, Ben was leaving with his wife, and they were both smiling ear to ear. As they were leaving the tunnel, Ben, his team, everyone around him just looks jubilant. They don't look like a team that just lost. It looks like they had a great night at the casino after just getting embarrassed in front of the whole world. Which is odd. Looking at old Ben Askren highlights and shit, when he loses, he doesn't seem that happy about it. Especially not with a fucking TKO. That'd be something you'd be pretty sad about. For example, in that historic loss to Masvidal, where he got the fastest KO in history against Ben Askren, Ben wasn't exactly bubbly about that loss afterwards. He wasn't happy like he is in this loss. And the loss against Masvidal, I don't think is nearly as embarrassing as this one. Though it is still embarrassing because it is now the record for the fastest UFC KO in history. And now this is the most embarrassing loss in fucking sports history, so Ben is holding two very prestigious titles. He wasn't happy when Masvidal kneed him in the face and fucking blasted his consciousness to a different plane, but he is happy here for some reason. He's smiling, leaving, like he just went downstairs on Christmas morning and saw that new bike he always wanted. It's a very different response to an even more embarrassing loss. Maybe it wasn't as painful as Masvidal, but he still lost by TKO, which means there had to be some level of pain because you just got fucking blasted. Oh, apparently. So it is weird to see such wildly different responses to equally bad, well, not equally bad knockouts. Masvidal's, I thought for sure he took Ben's fucking head off. But equally as embarrassing losses, I suppose, is a better way of saying it. So yeah, his response to it's weird. His lack of drive to win seems weird because it didn't really seem like he was even really going for it. The whole thing did come across odd, but I don't think it was scripted or faked. If I had to guess, I think Ben just didn't respect Jake at all, which makes sense because almost nobody respects Jake, and for good reason, I suppose. But I think what happened is the same thing that happened with Nate. He probably didn't put much effort into training. He thought he'd come in here and just roll him. But Jake Paul's not incompetent. He knows what he's doing with boxing, so he got fucked up. That would be my guess, because I really just don't think throwing matches like this is super common, especially not when his entire legacy is now going to be the butt of all sports jokes. I just find that unlikely. Ben has a lot of accomplishments under his belt, and now none of them will ever be talked about again. He will always be remembered as the guy that lost to a YouTuber. And I just don't think he would willingly accept that just for a little extra money. I just find that very hard to believe. But yeah, anyway, that's about it. Just wanted to talk about it for a little bit. So yeah. I'm often asked in emails or on my streams, both on YouTube and Twitch, what are my thoughts on X? So I thought I'd make a video kind of just to give my thoughts on the most common things I'm asked to give my thoughts on. I don't often know why people ask me my thoughts on certain topics. It's not like I'm an expert in the area, nor do I understand why people want to know what I think of, odorless asshole projects that are springing up on Kickstarter or any of that shit. But still, I thought it would be fun to address the most common things I'm asked my thoughts on. So let's start. What are my thoughts on the KSI versus Logan Paul fight? Well, I'll admit I did watch it. Forgive me, Lord. I've sinned, I know. I said I wasn't going to, but my friends convinced me to tune in. I did not pay $10 for it. I watched it for free on Twitch. Please, FBI, don't arrest me for piracy. I know you wouldn't download a car, but you wouldn't want to pay $10 for a shitty staged fight, so I didn't. Watched it on Twitch there. And I really, really enjoyed the undercard fights. Fucking Scarce is made out of adamantium. That man can take a slugging and not go down. He was getting absolutely walloped on, just fucking obliterated, and he did not stumble. And I have nothing but respect for Scarce after seeing that absolutely inspired performance. He didn't win, but he demonstrated that he is made out of like fucking cast iron or something. He has earned a lot of people's respect, and I really enjoyed watching all of the undercard fights. And I even enjoyed watching the main event fights with Deji vs. Jake and Logan vs. KSI. It was fun to watch that. It actually was entertaining. They were throwing some wet noodle punches, but even still, it was fun to watch. Up until the end where they revealed that it was all just a theatrical performance and the outcome was already staged in advance. And you knew that because like 5 or 6 months ago, they had already planned a rematch. If you look at their schedule, the rematch had been planned, but it was still kind of sad to see it unfold that way and just kind of become this big fucking waste of time. Those are my thoughts on that. There's a little spicy thought for you to blast your ass with. Next, what are my thoughts on new video games? I think it's good. I think it's good that we're still making video games. It's always good to keep having new video games come out. There are some I'm looking forward to,
Most of the big titles this year I'm actually kind of excited for. The one I'm most excited for is Earth Defense Force 5 being localized, so we get the glorious EDF chants and all that good shit. Very excited for that. And also very excited for Neo 2. What are my thoughts on furries? I think it's totally fine. I have a golden rule. If someone has a fetish or an interest that isn't hurting anyone, why would I take an issue with it? Yeah, I might not be a furry myself, but it's not like I don't respect people who are. I mean, that's totally fine. Everyone has their own things they enjoy. I'm not going to shit on someone for their tastes. That's just ridiculous. So I have no problems with the furry community, brony community, anything like that. They're free to like what they like. Even if I don't like it, I still respect it. What are your thoughts on fucking Mick Vagini's new SoundCloud mixtape that just dropped? How fire do you think it is? That's more of a generalization of the question. The question's really, what are your thoughts on X new album? I don't listen to a whole lot of new albums, and I certainly don't listen to whatever new SoundCloud rapper is coming out that people are talking about. That's not typically my tastes. I'm open to all types of music, and there is a lot that I do enjoy that isn't just metal, even though that's predominantly what I listen to. So I don't have a whole lot of strong opinions on new albums because I most likely haven't heard them. However, if it is a SoundCloud rapper that you're asking my opinion on in terms of the album and its quality, I'll have no idea on the album itself, but my thoughts will be, how many face tattoos does that SoundCloud rapper have? What are your thoughts on newest sad thing that just happened somewhere in the world? This happens anytime something bad in the world happens, either before I start streaming or during a stream. I'm always asked, what are my thoughts on it? And I don't really understand why, because my thoughts on it are going to be pretty obvious. Oh, that objectively bad thing that just happened in the world? Yeah, my thoughts are, it's objectively fucking bad. I don't have any more to say about it. Sometimes I don't even know about it. So the only thing I'm going to have to say, I don't have any interesting perspective on it, is it's fucking sad. You know, you don't like to hear about that. Now, if it was something more like, what are your thoughts on Universal announcing that they're closing down the Mummy ride? Okay, well, there's something I can deeply opine on. Oh, they're closing down the Mummy ride, huh? All right, well, I'm marching my ass over to Universal. We're sounding the alarms. I'm pulling dicks out of pants over at Universal, and we're getting that shit back online. There's something I can really talk about and give you some more deep thoughts on. But if it's just something sad in the world, I'm not going to have anything more to say about it other than, holy shit, that's fucking sad. What are your thoughts on having Brad Pitt or Leonardo DiCaprio on the official podcast? Well, they're more than welcome to come on. I mean, you're darn tootin', they're more than welcome to come on. Mr. Pitt or Leonardo, since we're on a first name basis apparently, if you're watching this, you're welcome to come on the official podcast. The question is typically, what are your thoughts on having this huge name celebrity or just any person in general on the podcast? And our stance is we're open to all guest suggestions, all shapes and sizes, but you have to keep in mind, we don't really have a way of contacting a lot of these people. Typically, when a guest comes on the podcast, they usually get referred by people who watch the podcast. Like, people who watch the podcast will reach out to them on Twitter saying, hey, would you be interested in coming on? They say yes, then we exchange DMs and we schedule it. So if you want to see like a big name person on, or anyone in general, you need to reach out to them on behalf of the podcast to see if they're even interested in coming on, and then we can work on setting up a way of scheduling it. What are your thoughts on anime? I like anime. I mean, I'm not like a huge weeb who's really into, owning body pillows and shit, but I like a lot of anime, my favorite one being Code Geass. In fact, I actually just bought a Redline poster that's sitting right next to Watto. Redline's a 2009 anime movie, and it's one of my favorite movies ever made, so I like anime. That's my thoughts on anime. I think some of it's real good. The only other big what are your thoughts on question that I can think of that I get asked a lot is, what are your thoughts on streaming or making internet content in general? And my answer is typically the same. At the end of the day, you have to accept that being on the internet space, all of it's going to boil down to luck. So you shouldn't go into streaming or creating internet content in any capacity with this intention of being the next PewDiePie or the next Ninja. You need to do it because you enjoy doing it, because you might not get as lucky as they did and reach that level. So you have to enjoy just the process of doing all of it for the sake of your own fun of doing it. And I think a lot of people go into it, with these dreams of being to that level, and then get really disappointed if it doesn't really pan out that way, or it doesn't seem like it's going to pan out that way, and they get very upset about it. But if you're doing it for the fun of it from the get-go, just the act of creating things and streaming will be a rewarding experience, and I'd always encourage that. If you're curious about, is it worth going into? it's probably worth dipping your toe in and see if you really enjoy it. If you don't, probably not going to be worth it, obviously. If you do, keep at it, but keep in mind, at the end of the day, all of it boils down to getting lucky. So this was just the main what are your thoughts on questions that I wanted to cover, because I keep getting asked them, and I don't mind repeating answers or answering the same questions, because I understand not everyone's going to catch every single fucking stream and keep up with all the stream lore. I just wanted to make sure that I covered the biggest ones here, so that way, maybe someone doesn't donate to ask the question and then feel like, oh, he's answered this before, now I feel like a fucking idiot. I don't want anyone to feel that way. So I wanted to make sure that I covered all the big ones here, and yeah, that's it. So yeah,